Good afternoon. I'm Steve Grandchamp. I'm the CEO of Drud Technologies. I can't really see that well out there, so let me see a show of hands. How many of you in the audience are developers? Okay, wow. Okay, so a bunch. This will be a good audience for me then. Okay, how many of you manage or rely on developer teams? Okay, so some managers and some developers. Okay, good news and bad news, I guess, for everybody in that realm. The web isn't getting simpler for any of us today. Solving the web problem has created a multi-billion-dollar, and still growing, by the way, industry that most of us here are a part of in some way or another. So if you run multiple projects on multiple versions of multiple tech stacks with multiple hosting providers, and of course you do, or probably your company does, the hard cost today of environmental setup, configuration, and project switching can easily run into 2 or more hours a day per developer. So just think about that. Per developer, doing things the old-fashioned way. Doesn't even take into account the cost of new developer onboarding, compatibility problems, bug fixing, and other deployment issues. If you work on a small team, maybe you're an individual, maybe you work on a mid-sized team, maybe you're even working on an outsourced team. It really doesn't matter. For teams and businesses, all of this is costing you. It's costing you the opportunity for innovation, the chance to solve higher value problems, causes long maintenance and innovation cycles. And for you developers in the room, this is why you're on PagerDuty. You got a bunch of unplanned work. Don't you love those fire drills you're part of all the time? Your weekends or nights, maybe where you could be doing different things. At the end of the day, on a typical team, you could be losing a quarter to half of your productive developer time to environmental configuration issues. Now, the containerization paradigm is here, and it can help. I mean, who doesn't love Docker and Kubernetes? And we heard some of that earlier today. But they're complex, right? They're not that easy to do. Our self-contained DDEV environment management tool gets all that complexity out of your way. You can work on exact copies of your production hosting code and its environment, smoothing your testing, your collaboration, reducing all the deployment headaches you run into, driving the risk down while improving your product consistency and quality. At Drud, we glue all these technologies together. We keep them up to date and running for you. So stop wasting your time on configuration, compatibility issues. Turn your attention to more interesting problems, delivering higher value, higher order work. By the way, this is not someday you can do this. At our partner agencies today, hundreds of developers are using Drud and DDEV in production today, and they're building more than 1,000 client websites. And the productivity increases are remarkable. Drud tools have reduced the onboarding time for new team members, and so we define onboarding as the time to deliver a developer's first production commit. So your first production commit goes from weeks, literally, to hours. And when one of those in the United States. And they don't have that problem.
So I'm responsible for a couple of engineering teams.
Okay.
The problem that you presented at the outset is the problem, which is the internet's getting more complex and I have to have an expert in everything and it's bankrupting us. So I have a little goofy test here, given that
I'm not the CTO.
More than half of your audience put up
Yes.
their hands as developers.
Right.
Can I get a show of hands on that 60-second intro video, which was going to explain the whole value to this, and which to me as an old typewriter salesman meant absolutely nothing? How many of you guys did that 60-second video resonate with versus just confuse you? Come on. Someone must have gotten some value out of it. Don't be shy. Put up your hands, please.
I can't see. I don't have my glasses on.
Interesting. Okay. Good enough. Thank you. That was very helpful to me because it looked like Greek to me, but that it resonated with at least a subset of your developers out there is a good thing.
Thank you.
So if I'm a customer, how do I get involved with your tools? So a lot of these projects, and my perception is a lot of your competition and has more of a consultative approach to getting to their customers.
Right.
So how do I get started? How does your sales guy introduce what you can do to somebody simply so that they can start using it without going through some, difficult speed up process, education process to get there? How does all that work?
Well, the first thing you do is you can download the tool for free. Any developer can download it today on GitHub, and you can begin using it for free. It's a full function tool. It's not a crippled tool. And so the adoption piece will lead to the monetization conversation.
So I'm running a business, I download your tool. What am I going to use it on first to test it on something that won't break before I put it on something that it might break? So how do I, what's the process through which I start to understand the value so I can actually put it on something that matters so that I decide I actually want to pay for it?
I think the first target there would be, are we a Drupal shop or are we a WordPress shop? Those two technologies together drive about half of the websites on the web today. So our target will be, let's go after Drupal, let's go after WordPress first. It's very easy to create a value prop and a set of kind of how-tos. We know where these people live, we know how to get at them, and we can get you up, jump-started in a hurry. If you're a WordPress developer and you saw that 60-second demo, it would make total sense to you.
So from an investor standpoint, you said you've raised $6 million
Right.
today, and I can't remember if you're raising additional dollars.
We will be. We're not currently, but we will be.
Okay, and then what are your revenues look like, just projection-wise, 4 years from now, and who's your potential acquirer?
Any of those people I put up there as competition could be our potential acquirer. Anybody who's in that hosting space, anybody who's in the Drupal, the WordPress space, those are potential
So
acquirers.
all three of those verticals? Okay.
For sure.
What is your ASP?
It's about, we're projecting it to be somewhere in the $25,000 range. Right, per customer, yeah.
Just one final question. We've talked a lot about how you approach the agencies who are doing the web development work.
Right.
What are your relationships like with the hosters that may be hosting all of these websites? I mean, are they a source of business for you? Are their relationships the ones you need to play on? How does that work in terms of your business?
I would describe it as almost a little bit of a co-opetition, right? So there's a couple of them who specifically come to us and asked for access to the local development tool, the first tool, DDEV. And so I'll give you a story of a partner in Germany that we're working with right now, and I can't name them quite yet, but there's an open source content management tool. It's not Drupal, it's not WordPress, it's called Typo3. And think of any open source CMS plugging into the front end. The hosting provider in the back end can't be the cloud in Germany with the privacy and the data protection. So Azure is actually contracted with a company called T-Systems to staff a local data center in Germany only with German citizens. So we're building out an API to connect Typo3 on the front end to the Azure deployment on the back end. That product's going to be OEM and white labeled by them into Germany. So that hosting provider can actually be a go-to-market partner for us.
I think our mic, please. I think our time is up, but thank you very much, Stephen.
Thank you very much.